2026 thriller books are the gift that keeps on giving. Hi book friends, I have scoured the internet for you all once again to tell you about some thriller book releases that are coming out in February 2026. And if you thought January was a good month for thriller books, wait until you hear about the books that I'm going to be telling you about in this video. We've got everything from ice skating, murder mysteries, Tradwife horror. We've got cult leaders. We have got every single type of thriller book you can imagine coming out this month. I am going to be doing these videos monthly throughout 2026, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the videos. And if you are already subscribed, you know exactly what's coming. Let's destroy your TBRs. Starting off on February the 1st, we've got Read Between the Lies by Jessie Q. Sutano. Now, interestingly, this is the author of Vera Wong series, the cozy mystery series, which is so well loved. And this book is not even out yet. And the Goodreads ratings are so low. Now listen, I do try and avoid average ratings and not let it influence my decision, but I thought that was so interesting considering this is such a well-loved author. In this book, we follow our main character Fern, who has finally landed her dream publishing deal. All she's ever wanted is to be an author. And then she finds out that Haven, her high school bully, has also landed a book deal and is going to be debuting alongside her. But between them both, they also share a dark secret that they've never spoken about, and it's about their friend Danny, who something tragically happened to when they were in high school, and both of them will do anything to keep their secret under wraps. I do love a book within a book trope, following authors, getting that juicy gossip of the publishing industry. And I think the premise of this one is giving me a little bit of Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. I feel like it's going to be a book that maybe has something to say. We'll find out together. The Favourites by Lane Fargo was one of my favourite books of 2025, and that followed Ice Dancers, and so does Blade by Wendy Walker. Anna Robbins was an Olympic star in the making. She was an Olympic ice skater, ice dancer. However, she had an accident when she was 16, which forced her to never compete again. And she's now a very successful criminal attorney. But then Anna's former coach ends up dead, ends up potentially murdered, and she is going to go back to her hometown, to where she did all of her training, and she's going to defend the young skater who has been accused of this crime. Is it giving The Favourites, but more of a thriller? I feel like it might be. Something you should know about me is if a book mentions the word cult, I will immediately buy it. Take my money. Follow Her by Anna Stewart follows the point of view of two girls, Katie and Frida. 10 years ago when they were 17, they spent the summer together on a little island, and something happened on this island. Katie has done her best to forget all about it, but Frida is now a social media influencer and lives her life in the spotlight. But one day, a photo of the time that they spent on this island when they were 17 turns up. And in that photo is Katie, Frida, and a couple of other girls who have recently washed up dead. And then a journalist has just started digging into this because obviously Frida's in the spotlight. Oh, I forgot to say, she's a spiritual influencer. And that translates to cult leader, doesn't it? Those last two books, I've actually managed to download on my Kindle already, even though they don't come out in February, through Amazon First Reads. Every single month, if you've got Amazon Prime, you get access to Amazon First Reads, and you can usually pick one, but they gave you two this month. So I chose this one and also Blade. So I can't wait to read them. And talking about cults, the next book I want to speak to you about is It's Not Her by Mary Kubica, because this is coming out in February, and my book club, The Thriller Cult, this is our book club pick for March. So if you've ever wanted to join a cult, come over to mine. Come over to my thriller cult. The link is in the description. I read She's Not Sorry by Mary Kubica back in 2025, and it absolutely blew me away. I loved it so much. So I'm so excited for this release, and I'm so excited that it's one of our book club picks. What can I say? We've all got great taste. Courtney Gray is on vacation with her family at a little lakeside cottage. I mean, that's a disaster waiting to happen, isn't it? And then of course she hears a scream coming from next door. And then when she goes over to investigate, she finds that her brother and her sister-in-law are both dead. Along with that, her teenage niece cannot be found anywhere, but her nephew was sleeping soundly upstairs. So is the teenage niece the victim, Or is she part of the crime? I don't know, but I cannot wait to find out. His First Girlfriend by Nora Valters is also coming out on February the 3rd, and this follows a mum whose son is bringing home his girlfriend for the very first time. She's very nervous, but when Lily walks in, she's everything she hoped she would be and thinks she is perfect for her son. Or is she? But very quickly, cracks start to show and she thinks her husband and her son are being weird with her, and she starts to think that Lily might have something to do with it and could be trying to put like a divide in the family. Or is she just an absolute nightmare of a mother-in-law? Could be either. The premise of The Exes by Leodora Darlington is juicy gossip. This book follows the story of Natalie. Natalie is in a relationship with James and she chose him very carefully because he is completely different to her 3 other boyfriends. Natalie tries not to think of her ex-boyfriends because of what they did to her and also what she did to them. But one day, Natalie wakes up after an argument with James and realises that she's holding a knife. And the first thing that she thinks is, oh no, this can't be happening again. I feel like this book could go either way. Like, I feel like it could be like a very feminist story with something to say, or following like an absolute unhinged female main character. And to be honest with you, I'll be all right with both. Missing in Soho by Holly Stars is coming out on the 5th of February, and I am so excited for this. And this is perfect timing actually, as I've just finished reading this book. Murder in the Dressing Room, which is book 1, was actually in my best books of 2025, and this is the sequel. The best way I can describe this book to you is RuPaul's Drag Race as a mystery, because our main character is Misty Devine and she is a real life drag queen and also a part-time detective. Not officially, these things keep on coming to her and she can't help herself but investigate. Like I said, I have read this and I do think you could read it as a standalone, but I really wouldn't recommend you do that. I do think you need to read Murder in the Dressing Room because it's just so good. And like, you really get to know the characters, so then in book 2, like, you understand the decisions that they're making, you know? On the 9th of February, The Good Girl by Michelle Dunn is coming out, and this is being pitched as for fans of John Mars. What am I? A massive fan of John Mars. The blurb of this one, it got me so interested because it says, would you know a serial killer if you met one? Grace doesn't seem like the woman that has got a man cable tied to a chair in her house and is slowly dying, because she just works in a coffee shop and looks after her sister. So I feel like this is going to be about like a normal woman who's moonlighting as a serial killer, because it says that she's got like trauma from her past. So is she using like, that's no excuse, is it? I was just about to justify it. There's no excuse to be going out being a serial killer. Sometimes I think about the things that I say on the internet and I'm like, if I ever get caught up in a crime, I am fucked. Ours is a Tale of Murder by Nora Murphy. It's coming out on the 10th of February. And this says it follows one small neighbourhood, 3 families who are all bound together by murder. I'm not going to lie to you, I am partial to a bit of like a domestic thriller now and again. I did go off them for a little bit, but like I feel like I might be back on that train very soon. And like, if it's a popcorn thriller, they're just so easy to get through, you know? The Barbecue at number 9 by Jenny Godfrey. Now, full disclaimer, I actually DNF'd this author's last book. I think it was her debut novel called The List of Suspicious Things. This book is set in 1985 in a small little neighbourhood as they are all coming together to watch the Live Aid concert. I feel like the premise is kind of given the same as the Nora Stevens book, the book we just spoke about, because it follows like the neighbours who have all got secrets, that are all living like these picture perfect lives. Like, what's going to make it different? Maybe the 1980s setting. I do love like an 80s, 90s setting. I had to sneak a little cozy mystery in here because if you didn't know, 2025 was the year that I discovered cozy mysteries as a genre, and I fear I might be obsessed. Mrs. Sidhu's Just Desserts by Suk Panu is coming out on February the 12th, and this follows Mrs. Sidu as she's just got a contract to supply all the cakes for the local art gallery. But then disaster strikes when one of the famous paintings from the art gallery is taken and one of the waitresses is found dead on the floor. And of course, Mrs. Sidu is going to be our amateur detective in true cozy mystery style. What Happened That Night by Nikki French is is also coming out on February the 12th. And I actually think the title of this book has been changed. I've spoken about this book before, maybe last year, and I'm sure it was called Tyler Green Will Never Be Free. So let me know in the comments which title you prefer. Tyler Green has spent the last 30 years in prison for stabbing his university friend called Leo, and now he's finally out of prison. He decides to go and meet up with some old friends to celebrate being free, but one of them then dies that night. So is Tyler being set up, or is he actually a psychopath? The Killing Time by Ellie Griffiths is coming out on February the 12th, and this is actually the sequel to The Frozen People, which is another book that I read in 2025 and absolutely loved. It's not just a sequel, I'm pretty sure this is going to be like a series, and Ellie Griffiths is known for her series. I'm pretty sure she's got books that have got 25 books in, which is crazy. This series follows a group of detectives who solve cases that are so cold that they're basically frozen. Get it? Because they can bloody time travel. This is my perfect historical fiction, historical thriller, historical mystery, whatever you want to call it, because we get those present day timelines and also the past timelines. In The Frozen People, they went back to the Victorian era, but then I do love it because I get brought back to the present day. Does that make sense? That was a very chaotic way of telling you that I like this series. Full disclaimer, I didn't love book one. I thought it was good, but I didn't love it, But I think I'm going to love this one more because, I know the characters now and I'm just going to be more invested in it. I feel like it was a good setup for book one. Warning Signs by Tracy Sierra. This is one I've heard really, really good things about. And the premise of it is given survival thriller, maybe with a little bit of horror. Zach is on a ski weekend with his dad and loads of his other mates, but his mother always warns him about how dangerous the wilderness really can be. Then he comes across bones that have been picked clean, and can he survive the night out in the wilderness? I mean, that is absolutely terrifying. I would have no hope. Bad Bad Place by Frances Crawford is also coming out on the 12th of February, and I actually heard the author speak about this book when I went to Harrogate Crime and Thriller Festival last year. This book is set in Glasgow in 1979, and our main character is actually a 12-year-old girl named Janie. She was out walking her dog, who is called Sid Vicious, love it, obsessed, and she comes across a murdered woman, and the police think Janie know more than what she's actually letting on, she didn't just find the body. Now, if I read that premise normally, I would think, okay, that's a pretty standard thriller, but the fact that it's a 12-year-old girl who they're suspecting is involved in this, that has immediately got my interest piqued. A Sociopath's Guide to Successful Marriage. This is another one that I actually heard spoken about at Harrogate Crime and Thriller Festival. And again, it's coming out on the 12th of February. The 12th of February is the hottest day for thrillers, I fear. The opening of this book is unhinged because our main character is telling us that she's got a dead body in her living room, somebody that she has stabbed to death, but she's not going to call the police. And then the clarification comes with, it's not her husband, because as much as he's annoying, she wouldn't do that to him. Not yet, anyway. I just feel is this going to be more of a comedic thriller, where they're not that serious? And I do quite like those. The Signature Line by Nicola Ambry. The premise of this one is nothing I've read before, and I love it when that happens. As somebody who reads so many thriller books, it's really hard to find unique premises. The Year of Self is a program that's been developed by Dr. Carey, a doctor who is determined to give women back the control of their lives. But one day she goes on telly to promote this program, and she attracts the attention of a man, a men's rights activist. And then women, specifically women who are enrolled in this program, start being murdered. And I just feel this is going to be a really feminist themed book. Tell Me Her Name by Kate Wiley is coming out on February the 18th. And this is the start of a brand new series. This is going to be book one, where we are going to be following an FBI profiler. Her name is Margot Fallon, and the reason that she is so good at the job is because her dad was a serial killer. I would say that this is maybe one of the ones I'm most excited for. I don't know. You're going to have to let me know in the comments. Which one are you most excited for? Which ones are you prioritising? Nowhere Burning by Catriona Ward is coming out on February the 19th. And I have had this on my TBR for months, and I've just not been able to get to it because I was lucky enough to get an ARC, so literally slap my hand. High up in the mountains, a disgraced movie star built his home there to disguise himself and hide himself away from his crimes. Only when the house went up on fire did people find the graves of lost men. Years later, this house is now being used as a sanctuary for children. Children who are running away are seeking refuge in this like derelict mansion. And do you not think like the premise of that, like that's giving creepy, although I am nervous about this because my friend Emma reads crime. I'm pretty sure like she said the writing in this was pretentious. And one thing I am not is pretentious. Adrift by Will Dean is coming out on the 19th of February. And when I read the blurb of this book, I was like, I have read this book before. I have not. But the premise is very, very similar to a book that he's already written. Peggy and her son live on a narrowboat and they are just trying to get by in their lives and try and avoid the man that they live with, their captor. And I was thinking that's very similar to The Last Thing to Burn by Will Dean, because that follows a woman who's being held captive by her husband. So I don't know how I feel about that one, to be honest. Let me know how you feel. I do quite like the setting of a narrowboat. That's a bit unique, I guess. Tradwife by Sherro Schaefer is coming out on February the 19th. Now, full disclaimer, I actually think this is a horror. But I mean, thriller horror, we'll let it slide. Do you not think that Tradwives were like such a trend in like 25, 26? Like, where has this come from? I don't understand. I feel like so many books have like weighed in on this Tradwife like trend. Camille is the perfect Tradwife in every single way except for the fact that she hasn't got a baby, and she will do anything to make sure that she gets one. And then when she does get pregnant, her belly swells unusually fast. Her cravings are raw. This is given a bit of Delicate Condition actually by Danielle Valentine. I also forgot to add that she's an influencer, so she's the Tradwife influencer as well. And now something's happening with her pregnancy. The Other Couple by Claire McGowan is coming out on February the 24th. And this follows a couple that have gone on a last-ditch effort to save their marriage, have decided to take a little holiday. But on that holiday, they find a body on the beach and husband is suspect number 1. Fortunately, he gets freed. However, they're now back in London and a familiar face from that holiday has just turned up. The Girls Before by Kate Alice Marshall is coming out on the 24th of February. Now, I've actually never read a book by Kate Alice Marshall, so if you've got any recommendations on where I should start, please let me know. Our main character, Audrey, is a search and rescue expert. However, her best friend named Janie went missing years ago and nobody ever knew what happened to her, and like it's her mission to find out what did. But then she comes across evidence on the land that is owned by this small town's most prominent family. So like, how are they linked to the disappearance of her best friend? Witch Trial by Harriet Tice. Now, if you're in the UK and you're watching The Traitors, Harriet Tice is actually one of the contestants on The Traitors, and she's also like a best-selling crime thriller author. A young girl is found dead in an Edinburgh park, brutally murdered, and then her 2 best friends get arrested for that murder. Social media has exploded with justice, rumours, like petition for these girls to be charged, or they don't believe that they did it, and then we get to follow the point of view of somebody that is on the jury. So despite the title saying witch trial, I think it's more in the sense of like, it's like a witch hunt. Like, do you know, for like how the media goes after people and thinks they know what's going on, as opposed to like being actual witches. And I feel like there's going to be some like real social commentary on what happens with those news headlines. The next book is The Weekend by T.M. Logan. And I feel like T.M. Logan is like your classic domestic thriller author. Like his plots are all like very much the same. You know what you're getting from him. But like, to be fair, I do enjoy them. This follows 6 friends as they all go away on like a little log cabin break, and there is a storm, so they have to take shelter in an old mine. When they get down into the old mine, they find a big bag of money. Of course, they're like, yeah, we'll hand it into the police. But then they start talking about it and they're like, should we actually hand it into the police or should we keep it for ourselves? But very quickly, they're going to get pulled into a world full of web, deceit and murder. Okay, full disclaimer, The Waiting List by Matilda Wilding. I don't know if this is a thriller, but it's got a moral dilemma. And I do love me a moral dilemma. Liv has just had a baby. However, before she got pregnant, she had a bit of a weak heart. And since her pregnancy, her heart has now got worse and she may potentially be dying. So she needs a new heart and she's about to engineer that for herself. She could take herself off the waiting list and engineer an accident to happen so she gets her new heart. I mean, I don't quite know how you would do that. Like, how do you know that that person's heart is going to be all right for you? I don't know. The Pie and Mash Detective Agency by J.D. Brinkworth. I'm excited for this one. This is another cozy mystery. And I don't know, the title has just got me. This follows a couple whose names are Jane Pie and Simon Mash, and they've decided to take up, on a whim, a private investigators class. They've got their legal pads and their matching trench coats, and they are ready to solve some mysteries. When they get pulled into a case of a woman with the same name, Nellie Thorne, they keep on going missing. 5 have gone missing in the last 50 years. So like, what is it with this name that is making these people go missing? It just sounds like it's going to be so fun, like so cozy. Like, you know, I'm here for it. How to Kill a Crime Writer by Sarah Lotz is coming out on the 26th of February. When best-selling author Annie Morrissey is found dead, her daughter Neve is convinced that it's not an accident. Neve starts looking into it, but then Annie's final manuscript arrives on the doorstep, and it has some spooky similarities between that and the way that she died. I say it all the time, but I love the book within a book trope. The Deathbed by Chris Bridges follows a girl named Laura who's just found out that her best friend is on her deathbed. So she's gone to visit her, but not out of compassion, because she's scared that she's going to do a confession while she's on her deathbed. Do you see what I mean about unique premises? I do feel like that, like, it's got me intrigued. The blurb has sold me. Finders Keepers by Natalie Borelli. I feel like this one might be like a re-release. I feel like it might have been indie published and it's just been picked up by a traditional publisher, as it has already got loads of ratings. Rose is reading the newest bestseller when she starts to feel like the story on the pages sounds strangely familiar. And it is, because it's her life. The author, who is a girl named Emily, said that this is a story of fiction, but Rose needs to find out how this author knows her deepest, darkest secrets. Again, it's that book within a book trope, like she's got hold of her diary and she's decided to just publish it for the world. And that's it, guys. Those are the February 2026 thriller/horror books that you need to know about. Let me know in the comments which one you're most excited for, which ones I might have missed, and which ones are definitely going on your TBR. If you made it this far into the video, leave me a little heart, any colour, in the comments to let me know that you are the real ones, and it is Valentine's month after all. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss these videos, because as I said, I'm going to be doing them monthly, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!